Hello and welcome to another live episode of the Alex Nitzberg Show. I'm Alex Nitzberg, and today I'm going to be discussing some topics related to the U.S. Supreme Court, and also going to be talking a bit about Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and some comments that he made recently. As you know, I usually do this show at 3:30 on Saturdays, but I'm a bit late today. As you can see, I got my hair cut. But normally I do the show at 3:30 on Saturday, and I'll be doing it again at 3:30 from now on, most likely. But yeah, today's a bit later. So if you're joining me live, thank you for coming live. And if you're watching this after the fact, then thank you for that as well. And I see I already had 2 thumbs up when I got on here, I think. So that's pretty nice. Thank you for that. Let me switch my camera over here. If you've been enjoying these shows, please do remember to give them a thumbs up. And also subscribe to the channel if you haven't done it already. So let me go ahead and get into this stuff here. So first of all, President Joe Biden is disappointed that the Supreme Court ruled that Colorado cannot force a designer to create wedding sites that violate her religious beliefs. That sounds kind of like an outlandish headline, but I'm going to show you that he literally said he was disappointed in the Supreme Court decision, and that was basically what the Supreme Court decision did. So the Supreme Court decided issued a number of rulings this week, and I'm going to talk about a couple of them here. In this one, this woman who has this business that involves web design, website design, and some other stuff. But anyway, she's involved in design and stuff. And you can see here, the opinion of the Supreme Court opinion says that specifically, she worries that if she enters the wedding website business, the state will force her to convey messages inconsistent with her belief that marriage should be reserved to unions between one man and one woman. So she's thinking about and planning to go into making websites for weddings, but she doesn't want to get in a situation where there's like a gay couple or something like that, trying to get her to make something that she doesn't agree with. And if you've noticed, if you've been paying attention for years, this is a problem over and over and over again. The issue of, the issue of whether or not Christians or religious people, maybe people that aren't Christians but they don't believe in gay marriage or whatever, or just people that don't believe in gay marriage are going to be forced into doing something they don't agree with. There's the cake things and all that kind of stuff. So that's that there, and you can see at the conclusion of the opinion, it says the First Amendment envisions the United States as a rich and complex place where all persons are free to think and speak as they wish, not as the government demands. Because Colorado seeks to deny that promise, the judgment is reversed. So basically, she's thinking about going into the wedding website stuff, and she doesn't want to get in a situation where she's forced by the state to do something she doesn't want to do. And thankfully, the Supreme Court has ruled in her favor, and that's good. But we have President Joe Biden over here issuing a statement saying, in America, no person should face discrimination simply because of who they are or who they love. The Supreme Court's disappointing decision in 303 Creative LLC versus Elenis undermines that basic truth, and painfully it comes during Pride Month when millions of Americans across the country join together to celebrate the contributions, resilience, and strength of the LGBTQI+ community. So he's disappointed that the court has ruled that the state of Colorado is not allowed to force this businesswoman to create websites that contradict her beliefs, her religious beliefs. So yeah, I mean, it's kind of crazy when you look at the Supreme Court rulings that we had this week. What you basically see is we have Democrats who are upset that the state can't force people to do something that goes against their beliefs and their conscience. In this case, and I'm going to show you this other case, we have Democrats who are upset that that colleges are being told not to do race-based admissions criteria, because this is another case that the Supreme Court issued a ruling on, and it had to do with Harvard and the University of North Carolina, and Supreme Court basically said that they had these race-based admissions programs in which they're using race as a criteria. And I'm saying race, I don't like the term race. There is one human race. There's a Bible verse, I believe this is something to the effect of people being created of one blood. All humans descended from Adam and Eve. Technically, you could get more specific. They actually descended from Noah after the flood and stuff. So, but anyway, I don't like the term race. I mean, I think the term skin color is a better term, because that's really what you're talking about, generally speaking. But anyway, so I'm just going to use the word race, but you understand I don't actually like the term necessarily. So, but skin color, race, whatever. So, but yeah, they're saying that these colleges have these race-based, practices where they take that into account. They'll take into account someone's race when deciding whether to admit them, and they're saying no, that's not okay. And like I said, this was specifically related to Harvard and the University of North Carolina. but I believe, I think that, the ruling would probably also apply in general. Like, I would assume that if they can't do it, no college would be allowed to do it. And you can see here that, let me see here. It says, for the reasons provided above, Harvard and UNC admissions programs cannot be reconciled with the guarantees of the Equal Protection Clause. So the ruling against race-based, discrimination or race-based criteria in admissions, which is obviously a good ruling. That's, let me just, I had this down here, but I'm gonna skip over here. I mean, I put up a poll on this channel. I said, do you think colleges should consider a person's skin color as a factor in college admissions decisions? And look, I mean, 97% said no, because it's an obvious no. I mean, of course not. Of course, what they should be considering is the person's achievements, maybe their extracurricular activities, their GPA, whatever, that kind of stuff, who they are, not what color their skin is. And so, let me go back here. So yeah, here's what I was gonna say. So Democrats are not happy with this. They're not happy with this decision. They want colleges to be able to discriminate based on race. They want colleges to be able to take race into consideration as a factor. And so here we have Representative Cori Bush, a Democrat from Missouri, Congresswoman, saying the Supreme Court's decision to end affirmative action in higher education is racist, just like the court has always been, just like it was designed to be. We demand SCOTUS reform now. So she's saying that it's racist, and we have Nancy Pelosi, former House Speaker, still a current member of the House of Representatives, saying Chief Justice Roberts' majority opinion does violence to justice and fairness in America. And that Roberts was the one who wrote the opinion in the case there. And then also the Congressional Black Caucus, which I will note is comprised 100% of Democrats. I looked through the list recently of the members, and it looks to me that every single member in the Congressional Black Caucus is a Democrat. And they have this statement in which it says that the Supreme Court has thrown its question into the Supreme Court has thrown into question its own legitimacy. So if you count the Roe versus Wade decision from last year, we have Democrats who are upset about about the abortion ruling because they want, people to be able to have abortions and stuff, and they don't like the fact that now states can crack down on it. So we have pro-abortion Democrats, we have pro-affirmative action, i.e. pro-racial discrimination in college admissions Democrats. And of course we have Democrats who are also pro-forcing people to do things that go against their religious beliefs with the web design thing. And let me just point out with that, and I believe this was kind of discussed somewhat in the opinion, it's not just, religious people and Christians not baking gay wedding cakes or making a gay wedding, web design thing. This could also work for liberals. Like, I don't think that a person who's practicing homosexuality who makes websites should be forced to create a website about how homosexuality is a sin according to the Bible. I don't think that, a Jewish person should be forced to, do something that they don't believe in, make an anti-Semitic website or something, or a black person shouldn't be forced to make a pro-KKK website. People should not be forced to do things that are against their beliefs, obviously. And so part of the problem with the whole homosexuality, gay LGBT movement thing is that the proponents of the radical leftist gender ideology and the gay movement try to assert a similarity between civil rights, for instance, on skin color, and civil rights based on sexual proclivities and that kind of thing. It's not the same thing. Skin color is an innate inborn characteristic. They will argue that homosexuality and the transgender stuff is part of who they are and stuff, but that's not true. It's an activity, and also, as the transgender movement has taught us, basically, they will insist that all that stuff is fluid and all that. But anyway, the point is, it's not the same. You cannot conflate, the LGBT stuff with skin color. And anyway, so yeah, we have all that going on with the Supreme Court rulings, and Democrats coming out and denouncing these rulings and kind of showing you who they are and what they believe about stuff. Now, I showed you that poll. Also, Adam Schiff, Democrat from California. I'm sure you guys are probably familiar with him. If you're not, I'll make that bigger so you can see his picture. That's Adam Schiff there. So he has this tweet where, and you've probably heard Democrats talking about court reform or something to that effect. And so here, a lot of times when Democrats are talking about that kind of stuff, they want to add seats to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court has 9 seats on it. So there's usually 9 members. Sometimes somebody retires or dies, and for a while there'll be 8. But generally speaking, there's 9 members on the Supreme Court. And so people who are critics of what you would call, adding seats to the people who are critics of adding seats to the Supreme Court typically refer to that as court packing, right? This whole idea that liberals have of adding like 4 seats or whatever, adding a bunch of seats because they don't like what's going on, I would call that court packing. So Adam Schiff says, when I say we have to unpack the court, that means 3 things. And you can see here his very first thing on the list is basically packing the court. So when he says that we need to unpack the court, what he means is we need to pack the court. Because look, number 1, it says expand the number of justices on the court. Well, that's called court packing. That's what we call court packing. So he's basically saying that in order to unpack the court, we need to pack the court. I just thought that was kind of hilarious. And then he also says institute term limits and enact a code of ethics, just like every other federal court. Term limits, that's something that comes up a lot about Congress too. And I know a lot of conservatives support congressional term limits. I actually don't. I would not favor congressional term limits, and here's the reason why. And you can let me know what you think about that in the comments. I know a lot of people will probably disagree with me because a lot of conservatives think that that's like something that needs to be done or that should be done. The reason I don't support it is because there are good members of Congress. As many bad ones as there are some good ones. And I don't want those people to be term limited. I want the good ones to be able to stay for a long time. For instance, I really like Senator Rand Paul. I think he's doing a good job, and he's been there for a while, and I don't want him to get kicked out. If he wants to stay there for another 10 or 20 years, it's good to have someone like that in there, and I don't want him to be term limited out. Also, the reason we have lame, bad members of Congress is because people keep voting for them. So you can term limit people all you want, but that's not going to stop voters from continuing to make poor decisions and vote in rhinos and liberals and people that are not serving the country well. So I don't really think that solves anything. Maybe it'll clear out some people that have been there for a long time that aren't good, but you'll get new people that aren't good. I guess the idea might be that maybe to some extent there won't be like career politicians and stuff, and maybe to some extent that would help. But I don't want to clear out the sort of career politicians, the people that have been there for a long time who are actually doing a good job. Anyway, that's an aside. He's talking about term limits for the Supreme Court. I don't know about that. I probably wouldn't do that either. I mean, who wants Clarence Thomas to be kicked out because of term limits? I want him there. If he wants to stay there till he dies, I want him to stay there till he dies. I don't want him kicked out. But anyway, let me know what you think about term limits for Congress and for the Supreme Court. Packing the court definitely doesn't sound like a good plan. That is not a good plan. And also, I just wanted to point out here on the Supreme Court website, it says that the number of justices on the Supreme Court changed 6 times before settling at the present total of 9 in 1869. So that means that for more than 150 years, we've had 9 justices on the Supreme Court, 9 seats. And, obviously having one party add more because they want to affect change, political change, whatever, they want to put a bunch of liberals on there is not good, because what's going to happen? Either Republicans have to come in and take them off later, or they have to come in and add more. And if the Republicans come in and add more, then what's going to happen with Democrats? They're probably going to add more. And it's just going to be like, it could end up being like just add more justices every time kind of thing. It's not good. I mean, it's just not a great plan, I don't think. What do you think? I don't think anybody watching this who's conservative would support court packing, but you can let me know in the comments what you think. All right, so last topic here. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who is obviously running for president, who has been in second place and stuck in second place way behind former President Donald Trump in the Republican primary. He had some good stuff to say this week. One, he was basically asked about, would you eliminate any departments and stuff, agencies? And he came out with 4. He said, he basically indicated that he would eliminate the Department of Education, the Commerce Department, the Energy Department, and the Internal Revenue Service, the IRS. And I know a lot of people will be cheering for that. Now, obviously, most likely if you eliminated that stuff, there would probably be aspects of it that would probably, I would assume, end up in some other department or in some new department or whatever. But just the idea, it sounds great. And it actually gets better than that, because he didn't just say, yeah, eliminate them. What he actually said was, he would support eliminating them, but if Congress won't work with him to do that, because obviously I'm assuming Congress would need to, support that, pass that. He said if they won't support that, then he will leverage those institutions, those agencies, to advance his agenda, the conservative agenda, basically. He said, he gave some examples where basically he was saying, use the education department to push back against critical race theory, diversity, equity, inclusion stuff, and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of, it seems like a pretty good plan. It's like, okay, A, get rid of them. If we can't get rid of them, which would be the ideal solution, then B, use them to push back against the left, to push conservative ideology. So let me play that clip.
Are you in favor of eliminating any agencies? I know conservatives in the past have talked about closing the Department of Education. Would you do that?
So we would do education, we would do commerce, we do energy, and we would do IRS. And so if Congress will work with me on doing that, we'll be able to reduce the size and scope of government. But what I'm also going to do, Martha, is be prepared if Congress won't go that far. I'm going to use those agencies to push back against woke ideology and against the leftism that we see creeping into all institutions of American life. So, for example, with Department of Education, we reverse all the transgender sports stuff. Women's sports should be protected. We reverse policies trying to inject the curriculum into our schools. That will all be gone. We will make sure we have an accreditation system for higher ed, which is not trying to foment more things like DEI and CRT. So we'll be prepared to do both. Either way, it'll be a win for conservatives.
All right.
And I think that's a good plan. It is. Either way, it's a win. I mean, the biggest win would be to get rid of this stuff. I mean, there is so much government that could just be completely wiped out. And I bet people wouldn't even notice some of it. But, I mean, if we could just... People talk about cutting spending. Well, get rid of stuff. Just abolish stuff. Just get rid of a whole bunch of it. Just wipe it out. That would be great. There was another clip where he basically said something to the effect of, instead of draining the swamp, he wants to break the swamp. That sounds good. He said something like, if you drain it, it could be filled back up again later. But anyway, I like this proposal. I would definitely like to get rid of departments. That would be great. Also, he said this. He talked about the border wall. He was giving a speech in Texas. And he basically said if a cartel operative is trying to break through the border wall, then he thinks that the terms of engagement should allow for authorities to use lethal force to kill that person. Let me play that clip.
I've also noticed, if you go, we were in Arizona recently, there was a big wall, and it stopped, and so people could just go around it. But if you go to parts of the wall where it was there, you'd have the drug cartels actually cut through these really strong metal beams. And you have these guys with the backpacks, and they scurry right in through the wall. And I'm just thinking to myself, how could a country let that happen? So we're going to create adequate rules of engagement. If somebody were breaking into your house to do something bad, you would respond with force. Yet why don't we do that at the southern border? So if the cartels are cutting through the border wall, trying to run product into this country, they're going to end up stone cold dead as a result of that bad decision. And if you do that one time, you are not going to see them mess with our wall ever again. I've also noted...
All right, so yeah, that seems like, that's okay. So that's something he put out there. He mentioned a number of other things. He said, and I'm trying to think if I'm going to say this right. He basically mentioned designating cartels as, I think it's foreign terrorist organizations, or what was the actual? I'm trying to think what the actual term was. Hold on a second. I wrote about it, so let me look it up. 1 second. There we go. All right, this is the article I wrote about this week. Yeah, he said he would designate the cartels as foreign terrorist organizations or transnational criminal organizations. So he was saying something along those lines. He was going to do that. And he also talked about going after the basically like the birth tourism, birthright citizenship sort of stuff. The whole idea of somebody coming over here and having a baby, and then that baby is immediately an American citizen. All that. He talked about going after that sort of stuff too, I believe. So, in fact, going back to my article. Here, I said in this article, DeSantis rejected the notion that a child is automatically an American citizen if he or she is born in the U.S. Shortly after the mother crosses the border. He said that this notion is, quote, not the original understanding of the 14th Amendment, end quote, and that he'd act to compel clarification on the issue. So you can see there, he's basically got a number of ideas about what he wants to do to deal with this situation at the border. And, yeah, the border situation is seriously a mess. It needs to be under control. It's not going to happen with Biden or probably any Democrat in charge. And so he's got some good ideas along those lines. All right, so if anybody has any questions or comments that you would like to leave, go ahead and throw those in there. I will just say in closing that I mentioned last week that I was getting close to 30,000 subscribers on this channel. And as you can see here, I have passed 30,000. So thank you very much. If you're watching this and you have subscribed, thank you. Thank you if you're watching it and you haven't subscribed. I know sometimes people watch stuff and never subscribe. So anyway, thank you for watching. And if you're a subscriber, double thank you. It's exciting to get over 30,000. most of those subscribers I think I probably gained from posting Ronald Reagan videos, but hopefully a few of you are actually here to watch this show too. But hey, there's a lot of Ronald Reagan videos too if you want to check those out. Also, if you haven't followed me on Twitter yet, please do that. I post my articles during the week that I write for The Blaze on here, and I post sometimes funny stuff and just whatever. So if you're on Twitter, please give me a follow over there as well. And thank you for watching this episode of the show. Oh, let me check before I sign off. Let me check. All right, I got one guy who said that DeSantis sucks. What a lying scumbag. I do not agree with that comment, but that's somebody left a comment saying that. And Perseverance777, I see that you left a few comments there. Oh, and you said, let freedom ring. Thank you all. Thank you always, Alex. Well, thank you, Perseverance777, for watching the episode, and thank you for leaving that kind comment. And to everyone else, thank you for watching. This episode was a little bit late this week, but normally I do the show at 3:30 on Saturday, so next week I expect to be back at 3:30 again on Saturday. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed the show, and also don't forget to follow me on Twitter, and I'm on Rumble as well if you want to follow me over there, although I never actually posted last week's episode on Rumble, so yeah. But anyway, thank you very much. Have a good rest of your weekend. Oh, and also I didn't mention July 4th is coming up. Enjoy your July 4th. Happy Independence Day, and I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.